keep. McSorley into the end zone for the touchdown. What a run by Trace McSorley.
Trace McSorley, his teammates love him.
Trace McSorley does it himself.
He's a gamer, he's a winner.
Trace McSorley.
Trace McSorley.
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 McSorley. The Wizard of Camelot. Trace McSorley.
It's common knowledge college athletes are treated differently, but what effects does this have on the student body, the athletes themselves, and their college? And which of these is most important? Do the benefits of the university's pocketbooks and prestige outweigh the social impact on the athletes and the students? And do universities have the obligation to hold all students to the same academic standard, or is it okay to prioritize athletes over education? To give some general background of what could be interpreted as preferential treatment, college athletes are often offered extensive scholarships, many even get what is called a full ride, as well as the option to live in specific housing for athletes, which some argue is nicer than other available housing. The recruitment process for college athletes starts in as early as 9th grade. Athletes identified as having exceptional skill are given offers to play at colleges early on in high school, and some students verbally commit to a school as early as 9th or 10th grade, whereas students simply pursuing academia have to wait until their senior year for guaranteed acceptance. While NCAA regulations on recruitment vary from sport to sport, they allow for significant personal contact between students and prospective universities that most other students do not receive purely for academics. For example, Division I college coaches are allowed to call student athletes during their senior year, and students can have up to 5 expenses-covered official visits during their senior year of high school. This sounds like a sweet deal for athletes. What do these benefits mean to other students and for the university itself? Many argue that it inevitably leads to an expectation to put athletics before all else. The university itself ends up spending more money on athletics than many other programs. PSU itself spent $1.7 million on recruiting alone in 2013, an 80% increase from previous years, common across the board in Big Ten schools. Athletes are commonly required to prioritize their sport over their classes, resulting in a lower standard of education for athletes. For the students, it can have an emotional impact of feeling lesser than student athletes, as if they're lower on the priority list to the administration. The student athletes themselves have sometimes been known to have an inflated ego as a result of sometimes being placed above the rest of the student populace, if not by the school, then by the sensationalism that comes with college sports and the numerous compliments sent their way by avid fans. Another negative aspect associated with college athletes is the alleged preferential treatment they receive in the judicial process, or how the university in question's policies may shield them from the law, some, like PSU, even keeping high-quality lawyers on retainer in the event of misconduct. A prime exemplifier of this can be seen at Oklahoma State University in the case of the rape of Allison Jennings by 4 Oklahoma State football players. She reported the rape to the university. However, the university had a policy in place at the time that did not require them to investigate the misconduct of or hand out punishments for the athletes alone. This blatantly violated Title IX. However, the university had it in place to protect their athletes. Another famous case that is much more recent is that of Brock Turner, the famous Stanford swimmer. Turner allegedly raped a woman while she was unconscious behind a dumpster, shoving foreign objects into her as well. This was all witnessed by 2 Swedish bikers, who then rescued the woman in question. Despite these atrocities, most headlines about Turner glossed over what he had done and primarily emphasized his promising swimming career. Even Turner's father had one focus, his son's swimming career, that had been ended by this event, calling it a steep price to pay for 20 minutes of action. Turner was sentenced to 6 months, though he faced charges for 6 to 14 years, and was released early. All the judge had to say was the jail time would have been too severe of an impact on Turner. Many believe that the judge just went too easy on Turner because of his athletic success and called for his removal. At the university level, preferential treatment creates a unique conflict of interests. Since athletes must maintain their grades in order to stay on their teams, universities have found a loophole to enable their student athletes to pass their classes. At the University of North Carolina, an investigation revealed that for nearly 2 decades, the athletes were allowed and encouraged by coaches to take fake classes that resulted in fabricated grades to keep them eligible to play for their sports. While college is a time for expanding one's education, one may argue that these students are not participating in the true essence of their schooling. What about the counter-argument? Colleges and universities are motivated to treat their student athletes differently than the rest of their student populations, in part to increase revenue for their school. Spending money on recruiting top-tier athletes increases the likelihood that they will choose to attend the university, and better athletes mean better teams, which can yield athletic success rewarded by the NCAA with funds. In addition, strong teams attract greater crowds at games, increasing ticket sales. At Penn State University in particular, the football program takes an average of $5 to $6 million in profit. As a result, these finances that athletes bring in help fund other athletic programs at schools. The income from college athletics also helps fund academics, the core purpose of schools in the first place. Having a stellar football team yields greater prestige for a university, as it indicates that the school is well-rounded. In addition to strong academics, sports are a place in which schools can demonstrate their overall success as institutions.
Penn State wins the Big Ten title.
Being a student athlete also opens a world of new opportunities to those who may not have received the best education at their high school, or who possibly would not have been able to even afford college due to personal circumstances. So although most students find the amount of full-ride scholarships offered to athletes unfair, to them it may have been their only chance at higher education. Overall, it does appear that college athletes admittedly do gain more from colleges than the typical student. What the public and all universities need to ask themselves is the simple question of, should it continue? Do the physical benefits that high-earning sports teams bring in, and occasionally giving a student a leg up into higher education, outweigh the consequences of prioritizing one group of students over another? Does it compromise these athletes' educations as they're encouraged to take easier courses so they can focus more on sports? And finally, are we as a society so caught up in the sensationalism of sports that we've turned a blind eye to injustices and crimes that these athletes are committing instead of punishing them as we would any other student? Only time will tell.